I think you would say it takes some real balls to call for the ouster of the district attorney in your county. Publicly call him out. Let's take a look at this image here. This is a thumbnail I created with the individual on the right, Tim McLemee. He wrote a public letter yesterday calling out the DA, saying you need to resign, you need to be gone. And we're going to get into that right out of the gate. I want to go back and look at Tim's bona fides. I want to keep these episodes short and sweet so that we can move quickly among these daily, ever-changing topics. So here's Tim's Facebook profile. While it's hardly of an official resume, he gives a list over there of what he's done. So I think it's important before we look at the letter to see who he is and what he's done. Looks like he's currently the owner at Hard Battle Horse Ranch, hence the photo. Forensic evidence expert at Tim McLemee Private Investigations and forensic expert. Former forensic evidence expert at Texas. Former criminal investigator at Texas law enforcement. Former EMS, former EMT, lives in Van, that is in Van Zandt County, which is the center of the universe as of late in the drama department, and no one talks about it. I haven't seen any other YouTube shows. I don't think the news is going to follow this in depth. But anyway, Tim also, I believe, used to be the investigator in the very DA's office where he's publicly calling for the resignation of Tonda Curry. Now let's look down at his Facebook post. I'm not his friend on Facebook because I've never met him. I think maybe he's spoken on the phone over a decade ago. But anyway, he gets into the Facebook post saying, hey, I've attached a letter, which ironically he owns. Looks like he owns the website tondacurry.com. I think it's pretty clear he doesn't like her. So we'll get to why maybe here in a minute. But anyway, he basically says in this preamble, this post before you read the letter, the official letter calling for a resignation, basically says she's unethical, she essentially sucks, and she needs to be removed by herself, by her own accord, by resigning. And so let's get into the actual letter that he sent out publicly. My big melon's in the way. Look, it's 3 pages. Not going to read all of it. This is going to be a quick video. Let's look at the first paragraph. We're going to focus on that and then move on. Dear Miss Tonda Curry, I'm writing to you in your capacity as the criminal district attorney for Van Zandt County to formally demand your immediate resignation from office. This request is based on unethical, unprofessional, and unbecoming conduct, specifically your public revelation of protected health information under the HIPAA Act and the ADA, the Americans with Disability Act, as well as your threats of arrest directed at Mr. John Borkset for engaging in lawful activities such as cooking barbecue while living with a disability. These actions not only appear to violate federal laws designed to protect individuals' privacy and rights, but also contravene the Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct, which governs the ethical standards for attorneys in our state, which she would fall under that, obviously. I outline the specific legal violations implicated by your reported behavior below, supported by relevant statuses and precedents. Now, he goes on here and lists a bunch of code, a bunch of stuff that's out of my pay grade. Just basically, he did his research. And again, go back. Let's go back and look at the guy's bona fides. Forensic evidence expert. Does that mean he's some kind of legal messiah? No. But it makes me take that letter a little more serious. Let's look at the video again that inspired the letter. It's quick. It's different than the long version. Here it is.
I'm fixing to prosecute him. I'll prosecute anyone.
Why are you going to prosecute him?
For lying on form when he said he's disabled while he's out making barbecue.
Wow.
Selling barbecue. That's a crime.
I am disabled. That was good to know.
I'm fixing to prosecute him. I'll prosecute anyone.
Why are you going to prosecute him?
Okay, so we've seen the video numerous times. This is his version that's edited. It's cut down from the longer version. Obviously, it's aimed at making her look not in the best light. It's got the twitch, caught her face off guard. It's meant to piss her off and make her look horrible, and I think it does a good job of doing so. Let's go back to the letter. Okay, you read the first paragraph. Again, a lot of the other stuff in there, the filler is actually citing regulations and codes. I haven't cross-referenced those with anything. You know what they really are. I did ask an attorney what he thought about the video and the resignation reason. He doesn't live here. He lives in Harris County, but I'll give you what he said in a second. He basically goes on in here to say, look, with you know, kind of her wild behavior here, she's opening up the county to liability lawsuits. And he talks about a lawsuit that happened in Wood County where the county had to pay out 20 some odd $million. Let me say that again. 20 something $million they paid out to, I believe it was a deputy who was able to prove his civil rights were violated. Some other things. I think there was some bad optics on that. I believe he had a family member that was sick at the time going through it. This guy got railroaded, got a ton of money. And I'm going to do an episode on that later because I actually ran into the sheriff who lost his job and reputation over that whole deal and who ended up being liable for almost $1 million of it himself. Ran into him. Yeah. I want to touch that because I wasn't a fan of the sheriff, old Wood County sheriff. But anyway, he basically says that was a complete shit show over there, and Zandt County is well on their way to a similar situation, similar shit show, which could be. Back to what the attorney that doesn't live here, that has no dog in the fight. I said, what's this look like? Explained who she was. He played it. Messages me back and says the HIPAA violation will never stick because she, although she's a public figure, she doesn't work in a medical facility that safeguards all that information. Does it look unprofessional? Yes. Would she probably like to have that back? Absolutely. Did she violate the American with Disabilities Act? Don't think so because she didn't discriminate against him like for an apartment or anything like that. Again, he literally watched John's edited version, the truncated version, and that's the assessment he made. Not legal advice or whatever. He just, he said thought this was an uphill battle. But it's not a good look professionally. And like I said, if John's aim was to get her worked up, it worked. I think they weren't yelling and cussing though. And so again, the guy that interrupted I didn't like that. And we don't have to watch that in this video. But anyway, this whole situation is pretty wild. So he gave her 24 hours to respond. The 24 hours is came and gone. Okay, so let's go back to John's page here and look and see what he has done, posted since then. Okay, look, he basically said, moving forward, there was a formal letter sent demanding her resignation. She didn't adhere. She didn't give a shit. Obviously, it looks like she was not impressed, and they weren't impressed that she blew them off. And so this is what it's basically said. She's got an abuse of power. All these people, more than 15 agencies alerted, and more to come. Again, a quick, basic legal opinion by an attorney that doesn't live here, that doesn't have a dog in the fight, doesn't think that they have that she did anything legally wrong other than getting, maybe a little embarrassed for going off on him and saying that. He could sue her, he could sue her. I don't know what would happen, but this is John. He's the one that now has, I'll say this, and this may be polarizing, but I don't think, this is a primary. I don't think this DA primary race is as far apart as it once was. I've been asking around. I know there's a lot of people that are upset with different things. Does it amount to enough to unseat a incumbent? I don't know. Interesting fact. In Texas, while incumbents generally enjoy a high win rate across most local offices, 90%, it basically says when there is a incumbent in a primary that actually has challengers, in 2024, the stat was they lost almost 45% of the time. So it's possible, right? I know some major important people in Van Zandt County. We all do, right? It's not that hard to be important in Van Zandt County, but I know some people, and they're still Tonda fans, but I'm hearing from a lot of other people, citizens in town, that they don't want to vote for her. And that's not some kind of empirical data. I did some study. It was asking a few. Here's the problem for those that want to unseat Tonda from a district attorney position. I think it's too late. I think there's too much momentum. The race is too close. Your side would fare better if there was one candidate. Now you have two. And speaking of, I watched the debate over the weekend. I've asked this gentleman to come and let me interview him. I saw him on there. He hasn't responded, may not have seen it, but he put out a public statement today about the whole ordeal, and let me read it to you. And it's interesting because he's on the ballot for DA. And by the way, he's a great speaker. This is a snow picture my kids wanted me to use. This is from 3 years ago, spring break trip, Monarch Mountain, Colorado. In honor of the snow we have coming this week, we wanted to pop that up. Let's go to Joseph Sokola. He's the VZDA. He's on the ballot, right? There's 3 people on the ballot. He dips his toe in this stuff today, this drama, this high Van Zandt County drama. I've intentionally refrained from publicly criticizing the incumbent DA during this campaign. I'm running a race focused on integrity, the rule of law, and restoring public trust in the DA's office. No offense, Joseph. I want the best candidate to win, but you're going to have to take your gloves off if you're going to win out here. Right? That's a good first statement. I like it. You're going to have to take your gloves off if you want to win. Again, my opinion is the race is too far gone, barring a smoking gun. And it doesn't help that there's 2 different candidates opposing her, like I said, being redundant. Back to his thing. However, a line was crossed. I recently reviewed a video. He's basically saying the same thing as Tim said. The video looks bad. You probably violated some stuff. You embarrassed this guy. And look, John, I'll give it to John. John plays a very sympathetic figure. He's got a great story, right? He's had a really troubled past. He's been injured. He is actually disabled, according to him. And all the screws and stuff he lists off, ironically or coincidentally, I've sold spine implants for 20 some odd years. He obviously has that stuff in him because he knew stuff that you just wouldn't know unless you have it in you, or you sell it, or you put it in people. So no doubt the guy's hurt on some level, but he's a popular figure. People love a story of a phoenix, and he's not a phoenix. I'm just saying someone rising from the ashes. Like, he basically says, hey, I screwed up. I did a bunch of crap. I didn't like myself then. Now I want to get rid of all these game rooms. And I think, there's a school of thought that people say, no, this is a vindictive tour. He wants to get back at Tonda. She was on staff in the county, the adjacent county, when he got arrested for these game rooms that he hates so much that David Fox has. So that's it. That's the war. I will say somebody messaged me when I was looking up Tim McLamy and said that he had a thing with game rooms in the past. I will tell you, I found this online. It shows that, let's see. You ready? I'm going to do it here. This is a lawsuit filed by Tim against Van Zandt County and some individuals. It was dismissed, but in the order and opinion I read, any charges about Tim's involving a game room, he doesn't have that hanging over him. Those are dismissed. So the few people I asked mentioned that, but to clarify, he was, basically wiped out of that whole situation. I wasn't even aware of it, but That's what someone said. Hey, maybe he doesn't like Tonda. Obviously, he doesn't like Tonda. No one just writes a letter out of the blue that basically says, get the hell out of office. Now, I got accused of being a company man, and I've asked numerous people to come in and let me interview them or do a remote. And what I mean by company man, they think that I'm already a Tonda person. I got accused of being a spy for David Fox. I've never even met David in person. I'm not a company man. I want to get to the truth. This story's interesting. I want to be entertained, and that's why I'm coming and doing this podcast because, I mean, no offense, but the news isn't going to do it, right? The news is not going to come peel back the layers of the onion. And if I piss both sides off, so be it. But I would like to see these guys debate or communicate. Dream debate right now, David Fox and Big John, the barbecue guy. Let me get you in the same room. If you guys are going to try to hurt each other, we'll put up a fence. We'll cage match this thing, give you a mic each. I will give you questions by the public. I mean, there's been some real haymakers. Look, this is what AI liked. After I put in that David, I think David is probably not the first time he's been petty. It's pretty petty, but honestly, it's funny that he went and filed an LLC for barbecue and a prayer because it lapsed. And so this is what AI put in. A lot of comments on the old VZ Connects as David's paying Tonda, all these things. But anyway, that's enough on this episode. Let's see what happens next. The letter was filed. My prediction is this: nothing will happen about the letter, but they'll get mileage out of it, screaming that she is corrupt and unprofessional. Told you what the attorney said. She definitely wishes she could probably have that back. Not a good look. But does that keep her from winning the DA race? I don't think so. I think it's already written, and something big would have to happen, or one of these guys would have to tell everyone to vote for the other guy because, in my opinion, you guys waited too long to make your move. You waited too long in the process to make your move, but we'll see. Anyone that wants to come on and let me interview them, citizen or a person involved in this situation, let me know. I told you the dream debate, but the person I want to interview most based on current events, Tim McLamy. DM me, Tim. It's a fair shot over here. I'm going to ask some questions. Transparency would be cool. And let's just figure out, where your head is on this thing. And go from there. All right, guys. Good night.